Hello and welcome back to my craft room. I thought it was about time I give you a bit of a catch up on how I'm doing with my slow stitching bobbin project. The last one I did, I think I was about to start my orange section. I'm going to go to Descam to show you. So this is a project which is started by Anne Brooke, textile artist. I will leave a link to her channel below. I think the whole idea just completely ran away with her. She started it in lockdown last year and the response was absolutely massive. So she did the, just show you, I've already followed along with the Sew for the Soul book, which is, I've done a separate flip through on. I'll try and remember to leave a link to that as well. And I think this bobbin project was the first thing that she did, so I'm catching up on that. And then I want to start on this year's project, which is 52 tags all stitched again. So the idea of slow sewing is that you just use lovely little scraps and bits and bobs that you've hoarded over the years, and you just take your time and stitch just for the joy of stitching, just for something to do when you're sitting and watching the telly or out in the garden or whatever. So and I'm thoroughly enjoying it. It's just something that's really easy to just pick up and do a bit when I've got an hour or two in the evenings. So I've ended up using this ribbon that I happen to have anyways, and that's what came on the bobbin, to back my work. I think Anne chose not to back hers, and I wasn't going to back mine. I quite like being able to see all the stitches coming through, but in the end I thought, well, I've got this and I don't know what to do with it, and it just fits so perfectly. So when I left you last, I had just finished my red section and I was about to start on the orange. I'm not so happy with the orange, and I don't know why, because I had lots of lovely things to use, but kind of looking at it the wrong way around. Not that it really matters. I think maybe it just needs some more dark or something. But in any case, what happens is with each prompt, which I think initially was going to be monthly, and Anne ended up doing them much more frequently because during lockdown people were just galloping ahead. But with each section, with each new prompt, I'm adding another little section and I'm working through the colours of the rainbow, because that's what I like to do. And then I'm kind of going back into previous sections. So I think the prompt that was originally March was to go back in and add more stitching, I think specifically knots. So I did go back in and add more knots on all the sections I'd already done on these first two sections. And then this prompt included Suffolk puffs, and I was onto the orange. And then the last prompt that I did, I moved on to yellow, and it was all about buttons. So I did add a lot of buttons that I already had in my giant button jar, but I also thought, I've been meaning to have a go at Dorset buttons for a while, and I really enjoyed them. I would definitely be doing more of those. I'm making up some as little brooches to give as gifts and things. So there we are. That's the smallest of my Dorset buttons. That's the middle size one, the very first one I did actually. And then this is the biggest one. And I've done lots of stitching around the buttons, and I know that for future prompts I will end up coming back and working into these previous sections again. So for anybody that's watching that hasn't done these Dorset buttons before or seen them before, you start off with a little ring. So that was the one I used for my tiniest. I think this cost about 10p each. They were in my jewellery kit. I don't know if they're curtain rings or connector rings, but it doesn't matter. As long as it's a closed ring with no gap in it, you can use it really. And these are great big chunky ones, which made this large size here, and that would be perfect for doing as a brooch or something. And I've seen a lovely pattern. Oh, I could show you. This is a lovely magazine, comes from Australia, and we sell it in the shop where I work. So simple in Norfolk. If you're nearby, pop in. very hard to get out of there with any of my wages still in my pocket, I can tell you. Anyway, let's see if I can quickly find these. I thought they were near the front. There's so many beautiful things in here. Look at these I think you can send for the kits, but I'm just browsing through it for ideas, really. Beautiful work. At this, is she Russian, this lady? Yeah, Russian. I mean, some of this stuff is way beyond me ever being able to do, but it's so inspiring. And this magazine's brilliant because it's got templates and patterns for everything and instructions for all the stitches. I mean, it's not cheap for a magazine. It's more like the price of a book. I think I paid $9.99 for it. I can't remember. I think it was $9.99. But well worth it. Look at this. Three-dimensional embroidery and detached blanket stitch and things. But as I say, they give you... Oh, there's a close-up. I'm going way off piece there, aren't I? They give you detailed instructions for how to do all the stitches and everything. There we go. So I love it. I would definitely buy this again, as long as it's got projects in that appeal to me on that particular month. There's the macarons. You can't really make them without having the shell kit though, which is more than I want to pay for, but I just love the idea. Maybe I could manage to knock it up somehow myself. I can't find these Dorset buttons. Well, anybody who's watching this because they like saying will probably be enjoying watching this flip through anyway. Ah, here we are. Button bouquets. So they've made Dorset buttons here that look like a little bunch of lavender, and I thought that's so perfect because we live in Norfolk. What a lovely thing to send as gifts to a friend. And here they've incorporated them into little sewing gifts. So you've got like a pin cushion and rings attached to keep your embroidery threads on. What a lovely idea. This is covered tape measure. But as I say, I think they'd work quite well just as a brooch or a pendant or something. Yeah, that's a close-up of... you could just as well make it, a bunch of other flowers, but for me, lavender would just be perfect. Okay, so that's that. So give you a bit closer look at some of what I've been doing. Yeah, I'm not an embroideress. I'm very much making it up as I go along. But the more you stitch into it, the better it gets, and if there's a part that I don't like, then it just means I've got to do more to it until I do like it. And like Anne said, you can keep layering on more and more pieces of fabric and little bits of lace and things, and keep stitching in, and it becomes very tactile. I've tacked this along the back but left it open so that I can still add more as I go along. I'm going to keep in my neutrals, so I've got some little scraps here left. Oh, there's another Dorset button. I can't stop doing them. So yeah, some little scraps of grey and cream and white there. Some neutral threads, they're just machine threads. It's nice to have all different weights and textures of thread. I love this shiny one. I've had it for ages and ages, but I've used up a lot of it during this project, so that's quite nice. It's got a real nice sheen to it. Some of this kind of bluish grey embroidery floss and some gold. I've included a little glint of gold on each of the sections so far, so I'll probably keep that going. I'll keep my rings with me because I might do some more Dorset buttons as I go along. Actually, I'm just going to put them in there as well. But that's those. And my bobbin. So I've done red, orange, yellow. I'm now going to be going on to green. I've got lots of different shades of green. So for threads, I've got this crochet yarn, crochet cotton, in a real bluey green. I've got a machine thread in a real lime, and a whole tangle of various. So there's a bit of, I think that's like a cotton perle or something in there. Quite like that. I love the colour of it and the different texture. And yes, there's a huge range of different types of greens in there, and I might put the more bluey ones towards the end of the green piece so that it merges in with the blue that will be next. Those were just from a half done kit from years ago. I found this piece of, I would just use a tiny snip of this, just a piece of kind of brocade ribbon. I got that in a shop in Walthamstow when my son lived there. I've got some little green buttons. I love this one, it's an unusual shape with a dimple in it. And this one's got a little sparkle around the edge. And that one's just a plain darker green. So I quite like those. And then just a mixture of little snippets of fabric. This one, I think this must be a Liberty print, it feels like it. And again, this perhaps will go more towards the bluer end of the spectrum. Yeah. Got some darker ones as well, so for contrast. So that's it. So that's my fabrics and little bits of trimmings, buttons. Let's just snip a tiny piece off of this now because I don't need to put the whole lot. Ideally I want to be able to have all this in a tiny little box that I can just take downstairs to do by the telly in the evening or whatever. Pop all that in there. Dorset buttons, maybe. There. I just need that and my needles and pins. And that's it. It all goes in, all carries about like that, which is really nice. I'll wind that back on in a minute. And there's one more thing I was going to show you. So the prompt for this time was to use little hexagons like you would use for paper piecing patchwork. And I haven't done this for ages and ages, but I might have hexagon dies I will use anyway, I don't know, but Anne showed, just in case, she showed how to do it old school with a compass, and I thought it was so fun. I haven't done that for so many years. Right, so you start by drawing a circle, and this would actually be too big. The hexagon I end up from this would be too big to go on my piece, but I don't want to make it so small that you can't see it. And then without changing the setting of the compass, you put the point anywhere on that circle, and then you just draw a line across, and then where those two lines intersect you put the point again and draw a line across. And you just work your way around the circle. And eventually you should meet up with your line on the other. There we go, which it does. And I just think that's that's a miracle. Maths and geometry, they're like wizardry to me. How on earth did those clever people in ancient times work all this out from scratch? Wow. And what would they do with the knowledge and technology we've got these days? What you end up with is a hexagon. What I can do is I can make a smaller version of this and then place it on my fabric, cut round it with say a 1/4 inch seam allowance, turn them in, turn those ends in, and then stitch the hexagons together, and then you take the paper out. You know, just like the old-fashioned way of doing patchwork, which I haven't done that for years actually. So I'm really quite looking forward to doing a little bit of that, and I will probably do some patches on the other previous sections I've already done, perhaps in the neutral colours. So we'll see how that goes. So I'm all ready to go. Just finish up with a last look at what I've got so far. I think I'm probably about halfway through. Yeah, I keep getting little peeks of what's been going on in the 52 tags, and try not to look too much because I want to I'll enjoy that, as you know, when I'm actually working on it later on. So I can't wait to get started on this, and I will come back really soon and show you. I'll perhaps do the next couple of sessions and then come back again. So that's it for now. Thanks very much for watching today, and I will see you again really soon. Bye.